New lesson tonight. New lesson, paradigm spirituality. All right. When we're talking about paradigm spirituality, first thing that we want to do is what we want to look at is how do we cultivate an eternal versus temporal perspective. So when we talk about paradigm, you guys have heard people say a paradigm shift, right? It's a mentality. It's the way we look at things. How do we cultivate an eternal perspective versus a temporal perspective? Okay, so what we're looking to do in this section, we're going to contrast the temporal and eternal value systems and emphasize the need for a paradigm shift from a cultural to a biblical way of seeing life. The experience of our mortality can help us transfer our hope from the seen to the unseen and realize the preciousness of present opportunities. Our presuppositions shape our perspectives shape our priorities, and our priorities shape our practices. Okay? All right. One of the quotes in the book said, life is a journey, but where are we going? Life is a journey, but where are we going? So, if we look at a paradigm shift, biblical realism requires a grasp of the brevity of our sojourn on earth so that our hope is fixed not on the prospects of this passing world, but on the promises of the everlasting God. So we've got to learn and we've got to understand that what we're dealing with here, this life, is short, is temporary. And we cannot have our focus, our eyes fixed on what's happening in this life. But we have to shift our focus to the promises of the everlasting God. We have to shift our focus to eternity. And that is going to make all the difference in how we live our lives. It's going to make all the difference in the quality of our lives. And it's going to make a difference in our walk with God throughout our lives. A growing realization of our mortality should cause us to treasure the opportunities of the present. When we realize just how short this life is, it ought to cause us to appreciate the opportunities that we have, the moments that we have. We should learn to appreciate them better because we know that this life is fleeting. It don't last that long, so we shouldn't waste it. We should take advantage of every opportunity that presents itself. Now, here's a scenario. You got 1 year to live. 1 year. Doctor done told you that you have a terminal illness. You're going to die. You got 1 year. Now, here's the thing. That 1 year, you don't have no lingering sickness. You're not going down. Your eyesight don't go bad. Your knees don't give up. You ain't got kidney failure. You ain't having to sit in the hospital for the whole year. But that 1 year is exact. In 1 year, you out of here. What do? You got a year to live. What do you do? Give him a microphone. If you talk, I want to hear it. Say it. Say it.
We have it's a good example. Hezekiah. Mm-hmm. God told him, hey, get your house in order. You're going to die. He turned his face to the wall. He prayed. He said, God, remember what I did. He didn't ask for nothing. So he just said, God, remember what I've done. So his temporal was, I think he had a good perspective on his temporal of the just a short life. But he also had a perspective on his eternal because he did pray to God. So I think he is the best example that we have, that even though he found out he was going to die, he still stayed secure, knowing that he could pray to a God that can do anything. But he didn't ask for anything.
Yeah. That's good. Hezekiah does give us a good example. But in this example, God said no. Lord, can I have some more life? No. Give Brother Carter the mic over there. Bro, what you got, man? You got a year to live, bro. 1 year. What you do with it? What are you going to do?
If I had a year to live, I'd be Peter with the Gentiles. And I wouldn't get up. I would go out, and people that didn't know God, I would let them know how good my God is. So I would be Peter with the Gentiles.
All right. Brother Carter said he going to go and evangelize. He said he going to go and be telling the world about his good God, the one that's finna let him die in a year.
Okay, Pastor, correct me. It's just a metaphor for anybody that didn't know God.
Right.
So I was just using an example.
No, you said it right.
Yeah, so
you said it right.
It was just, that's what I would spend my year doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Pastor.
He gonna be out witnessing. Somebody else, your last year. You got a year to live. Now, if I ask y'all what you would do with $1 million, y'all have a lot of answers. But you got a year to live. What do you do with it? What do you do? How do you spend your last year on this earth, on this planet? How do you make it count? Go ahead, bro.
So I agree with Deacon Carter.
Hold that mic up so we can hear you.
If we only had a year to live, and we're children of God, we know His laws, we know His rules. We know that He wants no one to suffer, or no one to perish, I should say. So I'd spend that last year witnessing to as many as we could, because there's a lot of people who think they're right. You know, we got people saying that we're the only chosen ones. We're the only one that God is gonna rapture up. Then they say there is no rapture. So there's a lot of confusion in the world, and we know who the author of confusion is. So yeah, I'd spend that last year preaching.
Spend your last year preaching. Yeah. Andrew, we got somebody back there online? Okay. All right. Last year, turn around and get at the pastor. Now, Pastor, I didn't say he gonna fix no knees. If your knees already hurting, sorry about your luck.
All right, I'm gonna be honest. First of all, I'm gonna cry. I'm just being,
Transparency.
I'm probably gonna take a week and just cry. I know I'm gonna spend time with my kids, my wife, trying to make sure, not necessarily my house is in order, but just emotionally there. Because, I'm a pastor, I want to reinforce, well, hold up, before I get to that, I would really be drawn close to God, right? Because I know the enemy would be attacking me, right, to make me think that my salvation ain't real and it ain't true, right? So I think I would be for real trying to get close to God. And then because I'm a pastor, I would be trying to reflect what I believe about God and how I handle, whatever time I got left, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to, like, kind of crumble in front of everybody, you know what I'm saying? I want to try to, be strong through the process and then kind of maybe not going, I'm not going on no mission trips.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't trying to be funny, right? I'm not doing none of that. But seizing the opportunities that I could to reinforce, that Jesus is the way, even though he never promised that I'd live forever. Oh, on this side.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's I know I'm a cry. I know that much, right?
Yeah. That. Thank you for your honesty, Pastor. Thank you for your transparency, because I think that's the first thing that just about everybody in here gonna do. It's gonna be a lot of tears and snot bubbles. It's gonna be a whole lot of. We ain't talking about no small tears. It's gonna be the ugly cry too. Yeah. So the one where you can't catch your breath. There's gonna be a whole lot of that going on. But when we think about it, when we truly think about it, a year to live, knowing that your time here is coming to an end. If we can't decide what to do then, imagine now how we struggle not knowing. Everybody who answered talked about how purposeful they would be. And then us now not knowing, we have a tendency to waste a lot of time. Why? Because our focus is on our daily lives. We're focused in on what's temporal. We're consumed by what's temporal. As Christians, the moment we heard we got a year left, everything shifted. We became spiritually focused right away. Oh man, I got a year left. I need to tell everybody I can. But you've been saved for 30 years. Most of us are going to tell more people about Christ in that 1 year than we have in our whole Christian existence. Because there was a paradigm shift. There was a change in our mindset. There was a change in our focus. Because we knew that time was drawing to an end. So, we heard from a few people. How would this scenario affect your vision of life? It shifted real quick, right? Your vision for your life changed quickly. Y'all forgive me, I thought I turned that off already. Your role changed. So we immediately became evangelists. The role changed quickly. And the ways that we invest our remaining time. What you're going to do with what you have left automatically shifted. Because we knew how much time we had left. Come on. There we go. Now, here's a statement that the author makes. The degree to which it would alter your present perspective and practice is the distance between your current view of life and the biblical view of life. If I got to make a huge shift from not knowing to knowing, that means that my view of life is about that far away. What should happen is that I got a year left to live. I would continue doing what I was doing. That's what should happen. Because as a Christian, I should already be living my life in accordance with God's plan and purpose. I should already be evangelizing. I should already be reinforcing the teachings of Christ. I should already be preparing. So that distance, if I got to make a huge, giant super shift to get refocused in, what that means is that I've got an issue with my paradigm. I've got an issue with my perspective. Because obviously, if I got to make this big jump to get back to what God would have me do, then I'm temporal focused. I'm busy living this earthly life. I'm focusing on going to games. I'm focusing on having a good time. I'm focusing on, trying to get to the next house. I'm focusing on trying to buy the car. I'm focusing on what I'm going to eat. I'm focused on all of these other things. Now, look, I'm not saying that those things you don't do, but they can't be your focus. We're down here on this earth. We're supposed to live this life, and you're supposed to enjoy it. So don't hear Pastor Pettis say that you're supposed to be poor and in the dump and not enjoying yourself and, working all the time and doing. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that your focus ought to be more on the things of God than anything else. If I focus on God, He's going to tell me to rest. If I focus on God, He's going to make sure that I eat. You look at the prophet Elijah. Elijah running, he had a long way to go. Running. And what happened? Lord sent an angel. Angel over there cooking breakfast. What that mean when the angel cooking you breakfast? The angel made him a meal. The angel got him something to drink. He went back to sleep. Guess what? He woke up. The angel had his next meal ready. So do we not believe that God will make sure that we're fed, that we eat? And I ain't talking about spiritual food. I'm talking about physical. He's going to make sure that we're taken care of. But we can't have those things as our focus. We've got to have our focus on eternal things rather than on temporal things. So, if we look at those two statements, when we look at the temporal, it emphasizes the brevity of our eternal journey. If we look at the eternal, it stresses the brevity of our earthly journey, and it stresses the urgency of investing our most precious asset, which is time. The urgency of investing time is our most precious asset. Time is something that you can't get back once you spend it. No matter how much you try, you can't add another second. Time does not stop for you. Time does not wait on you. Time keeps moving. And we don't have much of it. We look at the few years that we get to be here on this planet and to make an impact for God's kingdom. Time is a precious commodity. So when we have an eternal mindset and we think about our eternity. We think about the eternity of others, and we begin to focus on that. Then we invest our time wisely. We've got to really take inventory and take stock of how we use our time. Does anybody here feel like they waste too much time? I know I do. I've been watching these little Chinese short stories, and before you know it, I done spent 3 hours, because it sounds like Kung Fu theater to me, and I just been enjoying it thoroughly, and I get into those, and before I know it, I done wasted 3 whole hours just listening to to them with the bad subtitles and the bad voiceovers, But I know that I could have spent that time a lot wiser. And many of us, we waste a lot of time. We waste time with procrastination. We say we're going to do something, and then we do everything but what we said we were going to do. We make all these promises to God. Lord, if we go back to those delivery prayers, well, Lord, if you get me out of this, I'm going to do this. Lord, if you help me, I'll do that. We ain't kept them promises yet. We gave God so many IOUs. He got stacks. And when we could have been doing what he asked, when we could have been, doing the things that he requires of us, we waste time. And that's all of us. Everybody does it. We all waste it. But when we shift our focus, you ought to begin to redeem some of that time. When I begin to start thinking about eternity, I begin to start thinking about, godly things. When I see that the clock is running, and your brother, your sister, your cousin, your friend still don't know God, there ought to be a sense of urgency. Why? Because their eternity is coming. Their eternity is ticking. They're getting closer and closer every day. And the fact that we don't know when our time is up. See, but the scenario said a year, but you might have a day. You might have an hour. We don't know. If you knew that you were going to drop dead as soon as you walked out of the doors tonight, some of y'all would not leave. We walk in on Sunday, you still be sitting here. I ain't leaving. I'm going to be right here. Why? Because our focus immediately changes. You're going to be sitting in the sanctuary making phone calls, trying to evangelize over the phone, trying to get you some credit. I don't know. I need to hear this well done. Let me try to get a few in before I have to go. But we got to invest in that time. If we look at it from a temporal or worldly perspective, it denies the imminence of death and treats the temporal as though it was eternal. We begin to look at this life as if that's it. We begin to look at our journey on this side as if it's the important part. This is just the starting point. What we're doing here determines what happens there. You ever play one of those games where you got to play the little mini game before you start the real game, and that's how you stack up credits so that when the real game starts, you have something to play with? What we're doing now is we're stacking up. so that when we do get to our real life, because all we're doing on this side is dying. That's it. This is not living. This is dying. That's what we're doing. We are walking towards the grave. And then once we get there, once we cross over death, eternity starts. So we have to look at now and then and figure out which one is more important to us. Do I need to have all of my stuff right now? Or do I want to have everything later? Do I need to get all the shine and the credit right now? Or do I want to hear well done later? We have to shift our mindsets. This is not the eternal part. This is all temporary. Psalm number 90. Psalm 90. Somebody pull up Psalm 90. Actually, I got it here on the screen. I forgot. I typed it in. Psalm 90, verse 12 says this. It says, "So teach us to number our days, that we may get a heart of wisdom." That was Moses as he came toward the end of his life. Counsels everybody to number their days. Take stock, take inventory, number your days. When we really think about it, we read the Bible and we look at all of those titans in the Bible, everybody that God used, those men of God. They're all dead. They did great things, wonderful things, and they died. Moses led children of Israel out of Egypt, split the Red Sea, called down manna from heaven, all of these things, and he died. Elijah called down fire from heaven, whooped all the prophets, all these miracles, and he died. All of the apostles, every last one of them, walked with Jesus, saw miracles, did miracles, and they all died. We will all have to go. So the Bible gives us and tells us that, hey, we need to number our days because they are not long, and before long, we're going to be gone. If we look at David, Psalm 39, 4 through 7, "O Lord, make me know my end." David's asking that same question that the rest of us are asking in our heart. Lord, when? When? We all want to know. Because if I knew when, then I could better decide how to divvy up this time. David said, "Make me to know my end, and what is the measure of my days. Let me know how fleeting I am. Behold, you have made my days a few handbreadths, and my lifetime is as nothing before you. Surely all mankind stands as a mere breath. Surely a man goes about as a shadow. Surely for nothing they are in turmoil. Man heaps up wealth and does not know who will gather. And now, O Lord, for what do I wait? My hope is in you." David made a sincere plea to God. Lord, when is my end? And then David understood that, hey, this thing is short. It's fleeting. It's like a breath. It's like a shadow. It comes and it goes. We spend our whole life storing up and gathering. And then what happens? Well, we go out and we get all the wealth. We heap it up. And then somebody else take it. We spend our whole life working, scrimping, saving, doing all these things. And then somebody else gonna spend it as soon as you're gone. You love that car. You wash it every Sunday when you're supposed to be at church. Taking care of it, waxing it. Change the oil every 2,000 miles instead of 3. Trying to make sure it lasts. And as soon as you're gone, your grandson gonna wreck it. Tear it up. He gonna eat food all in it. Have grease all over the steering wheel. He gonna have a pen hanging out his pocket that's gonna rip your leather seats. And there ain't nothing you can do about it. Because you're gone. But we spend our time investing in all of these things that we're gonna have to leave behind. Because we can't take any of it with us. We waste all of our time building on this side. Things that we can't take, things that have no use in eternity. If we're gonna build, why wouldn't we build eternity? Why wouldn't I store up treasures in heaven? Why wouldn't I build in heaven? Why wouldn't I make sure that I'm secure in heaven? Go ahead, Rep. Said, you got a mic? You need one.
I know this might take us a little bit off, right? But
let's go.
This is on my mind, straight up.
Say it.
Do you think that God, in his ultimate wisdom, know that if mankind knew his end, his actions on earth will be completely different and not follow God? Because if I know that next year is the time, I'm gonna do all I do, and I don't tell me the exact time and day, because the exact time and day I'm coming on my knees. But that's what I'm saying.
It's gonna be a lot of confessions on that last day.
On that last day,
a lot of
that
confessions.
means we're not really living the eternal life that we're supposed to be living, that looking towards the eternity.
Right.
So we more or less would be living day to day until we know it's time. Then we go and, because quietness is kept. We grew up in an era where I've seen people live all their lives how they want to live it. When they get to 60, 70 years old, they walk through the church doors. Now it's time to get,
I'm going to get right now.
Yes, because they know where are these 3 scores and 10. I'm close.
Hey, that's like most grandmamas that you know. They were mean as all get out. All of a sudden, they real sweet. They real nice. Yeah, they trying to get into heaven now, so they being nice. Go ahead, Brock.
I think God gives us free will to actually see the genuine of our heart if you will accept him. So in his perfectness, he sets it up that way so that we can have that choice. And that choice is based solely on faith.
Yeah. It would be skewed, for sure. If we knew when our last day were, if we were born knowing our last day, that would be a problem. That would be a problem. We would enjoy living our temporal life. We would enjoy our worldly existence, because we know when it's time to get ready for eternity. Not knowing keeps us honest. Not knowing ensures that the decision that we make is not based upon a last minute, trump card. The decision that we make has got to be real, because I don't know how much longer I gotta live it out. So if I get saved at 15 and I live till I'm 95, that's a lot of missing out.
Doing good.
So we have to understand that, not knowing, puts us in a position where we have to choose and we have to make a decision, on whether or not we're going to truly believe and truly follow, because we don't know how much time. We don't know if it's a little time or if it's a lot of time. But either way, we have to make that decision and choose God. Go ahead, Rev.
Yeah, I was just going to read a passage, Matthew 6:19, where it says, do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal.
Right.
So you're right. I mean, we have a choice. God has given us free will to choose life or death.
Yeah.
And that's really all it is, life or death. For eternity, you either live with Christ forever or you're everlasting separated from him.
It is a choice. For sure it is. And how we think, even after we make the choice. Because we get saved and we still think about all we can do and all we can get and how we can live down here. So don't think it's just about people that's unsaved. No. I'm talking about church folk. I'm talking about Christians. I'm talking about born again. We still find ourselves living for this life, living for gains down here, living with a worldly perspective, a temporal perspective, instead of us being focused on eternity. And the Bible, it keeps on making it real. Isaiah chapter 40, verses 6-8. Voice says, cry. And I said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades when the breath of the Lord blows on it. Surely the people are grass. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God will stand forever. Do we see the shift? Do we see the difference? We like grass, cut down, burn up, covered in weeds. Flower, the beauty fades. The flower withers, it goes away. That's our lives. That's our existence on this side. But then he shifts and he says, but the word of the Lord will last forever. We're temporary. He's permanent. We want to be with him permanently. Because if he lasts forever and we're with him, logic says we last forever. So all throughout the scripture, it's giving us examples. It's leading us to this understanding. If we look at what James said, James 4:14, yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. We don't even know if there will be a tomorrow. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. We're a breath, a mist, and it's over. It's done. It's gone. The question is, are we really aware of our mortality? Do we really understand our mortality? We wake up in the morning like it's supposed to happen. We drive to work like we were supposed to get there. We spend our day and we watch the news, and we look on the internet, and we see shootings, we see plane crashes, we see train wrecks, we see car wrecks. And we're like, okay, that was them. But don't you know that when they were on their way, going where they were going, they expected to get there? They expected to make it. And yet they didn't. But because it hasn't happened to us, we don't understand our own mortality. I had a car wreck several years ago on my way to work. Doing about 65 miles an hour, going down 380. 380 in Lake Forest. Gas station right there on the corner. And as I'm coming through the light, big old Ford F-350 shoots out of the parking lot, right in front of me. I didn't have time to brake. I didn't have time to maneuver. I didn't have time to do anything. And I hit him doing 65. I hit him so hard that F-350 spun around about 4 or 5 times. The engine dropped out of my car. Guy recovered from his tailspin, and he took off going in the other direction. I'm sitting in the car, 2-lane road. At the time, 380 right there was 2 lanes. I'm in the left-hand lane. Got my hazard blinkers on. Vehicle can't move. My seat is just broken. It's laid all the way back. I sit up, I grab my phone. I call 911. They're sending ambulance and whatnot out. I call my job so I can let my co-manager know that I was in an accident and that I might be late or might not make it to work. While I'm on the phone with my co-manager, I look in the rearview mirror. There's another car coming, doing about 65. And he not in the other lane. He in my lane. I dropped the phone and just relaxed myself, and he hit me in the back, doing 65 miles an hour. Pushed my car forward. His engine fell out of his car. The ambulance got there. I got out of the car. I look at the car. The hood is crumpled all the way up to the windshield. The quarter panel is literally wrapped all the way around to the door. The whole trunk is just smashed into the back seat. When I saw the first guy, my life flashed before my eyes. When I looked in the mirror and saw the second guy, because after I made it through the first one, I was thanking God. When I looked in that mirror and saw that second one coming, I was like, oh, Lord, this is it. I walked away without a single injury. Not a single injury, not a scratch, not a bruise, not a nothing. But what I did learn was my own mortality. Because what I knew is that I ain't have no business walking away. But what I also discovered is that this world and mankind does not determine my time. Only God does that. So do you think I began to preach the gospel a little bit more? You think I began to live a little bit better? Why? Because my perspective changed. When I realized that, hey, this thing is short and it could have been cut off and taken at an instant, I had a shift, a paradigm shift. And I'm like, oh, okay. Life is short. And it can be taken away at any moment. And that changes how we do business. It changes how we live. We become more focused on the eternal things because of that. So, do we really understand our mortality? Do we really understand that this can be over in an instant? And it ain't even about death all the time. The life that you enjoy could be over in an instant. All the earthly things that you have and that you work so hard for can be gone in an instant. And then what? Why do people go and jump out of the window and jump off a building when the stock crash, they lose their job or their pension get eaten up? Because their hope was in something that was temporal. Their identity was in that job and in that bank account. And when it was gone, they didn't have a reason to live. As Christians, when we face life hardships, when things happen, how do we respond? Christians lose their job. Christians get fleeced. They get their identity stolen. They get evicted. Have cars repossessed. All of those things happen to us too. How do we respond to it? If my perspective is not in the right place, people have their faith shaken. They get moved off of center behind worldly things, behind temporal things. And they don't know how to recover because they've spent most of their Christian life focused on temporal things rather than eternal things. When we think about who God is, we talked about this last several lessons. When we think about who God is, we give him credit for all of these characteristics. But the one thing that we usually fail to mention is the fact that God is sovereign. And when we really begin to understand what sovereign means, sovereign means that there is no one above him, that no one governs him, which means that he has absolute power and absolute control. And when we think about the fact that he's sovereign, that also means that whatever he does It's his right to do. We always want to say we've been bought with a price. Well, if he owns us, your mama ever tell you, when you ask her why about something that she got, and she said, I can do what I want to do with my stuff? That's the same thing with God. He can do what he want to do with his stuff. If he want to make it pretty, he can. If he want to draw all over it and make it ugly, he can. If he want to preserve it and leave it pristine, he can. If he want to smash it, break it into pieces, and sweep it under the rug, he can. Because it's his stuff. We are not in control. And the sooner we understand that, the better off we're going to be. The easier it'll be to deal with life situations. The easier it'll be to deal with the things that happen to us. We have a tendency to, we don't want to say it to God's face. We want to mumble on our breath about God. We want to tell other people, I don't know why God. We don't ask God why. We ask other people why God. Because we think if we ask him, he's going to throw a thunderbolt or something, and it's going to be over with. But when we understand and we come to the realization that he's sovereign and that the things that happen to us are all in his purview, they're all according to his will. Nothing happens outside of his will. It doesn't happen. It ain't like he don't know about it. He know what's going on. He understands what's happening. He sees the whole board, all of the pieces. And he a billion moves ahead of you. So when we begin to focus on God, focus on eternity, then all of these temporal things have a tendency to go the way. After reading all those scriptures and seeing what the Bible says about our life, is it morbid? Do we see it as pessimistic? It just don't sound right. That all these scriptures telling us how short life gonna be. But God said he loves me. And he said he was gonna give me life abundantly. And all of these things, right? You can have abundance in a day. Your abundant life might be 2 hours, and then it's over. Was it any less abundant? No. We have a tendency to see and begin to think that, that life ain't fair, that God's not fair. Anybody ever actually accused God of that? Ever just said, Lord, that ain't fair? That ain't right? I'm going to tell y'all something. Look, when I talk to God like I talk to God. And we done had some knockdown drag-outs. Me and the Lord done went toe-to-toe on several things. And we fuss and we fight, and then he tell me that you're going to do what I say anyway, and then I just go on and do it. But yes, we sometimes feel like this thing ain't fair and it ain't right. But when we keep our perspective right, and we put our focus in the right place, we understand that it's not about what happens here. Everything that happens here is temporary. It's all fleeting. It's all like the grass. It's all like the wind. Everything. But eternity's forever. It's forever. It never ends. It goes on and on and on and on. If we look at it, we look at those scriptures, we see that things are temporary. But the truth is that it should give us hope. The fact that this world is temporal, is temporary, should give us hope. The scripture is realistic because it's better to know things as they are than to believe things as they seem. Scripture tells us that you shall know the truth, and the truth will make you free. When we really begin to know that this thing is nothing, when we can actually see this life for what it is, for what it really is, we remove ourselves from the delusion and the illusion. This life is not what it seems. Your struggle is not what it seems. It seems like it's going to last forever. Your struggle can't handle forever. It seems like it's never going to get better. But it can't last always. It has to end. Because you can't take it into eternity. It won't go with you. Just like that car can't go, your struggle can't go either. You're going to leave that whole bank account right over here. And all them problems going to be right here with it. Your hardships don't travel. So when we begin to look at it and we begin to change our perspective and to see that all of that stuff stays here, and when we truly understand that we don't, the real me doesn't stay here. The real me don't have knee problems. The real me can see really good. The real me don't have cancer. The real us is bound for eternity. And when we've already made our decision about Jesus and we've accepted him, we're heading to the good part of eternity. The part where we get to be with God. For those who hold on to this temporal life, they go into eternity too. And they ain't got to worry about their knees and their back. They got other problems that they're going to have to deal with. Because they spend an eternity separated from God. We like to think about heat and charcoal and the devil and his pitchfork. No. To be out of God's presence, completely and totally separated from him. That's hell. You would wish you was in fire. I take that fire over separation any day. But being totally separated from God is the other part of eternity. Forever, eternally separated. I can be with him. I can be without him. And when we truly understand that there is no redemption on the other side, there ain't no other chance. When it's over here, it's over. So the decisions that we make, the things that we do, they affect where we go. And once we pass this part, we don't have any other choices. There's no decision to be made once you're dead. When you step into eternity, you there. And you already picked your side. So when we really begin to focus and begin to understand how this thing really works, that should drive us toward living a better life. That should drive us to want to do more for God. That should drive us to an eternal perspective. That should drive us to really do what He has called us to do, because it's just that important. What we say and proclaim, the way that we live, how we love people, it has eternal consequences. Not just for us, but for them. So when we shift that perspective, I don't care about you cussing me out. I don't care about you saying no. I don't care about you slamming the door in my face. I don't care about you walking off when I'm trying to talk to you. Because I have an eternal perspective. And I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing. Because I don't know how much time I have. And once it's over, it's over. Questions, comments before we get ready to close tonight? Go ahead.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This reminds me of the parable of the rich fool. So I'm going to read it for you guys. The land of a rich man produced plentifully, and he thought to himself, what shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops. And he said, I will do this. I will tear down my barns and build larger ones, and there I will store all my grain and all my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry. But God said to him, fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God.
Yeah. Yeah. You just stored all that up, thinking, man, I got enough to last a lifetime. But what you didn't know is that your life was over. The moment you got to the pinnacle, he didn't have time to enjoy it. It was over. And the Bible called him a fool. Foolish behavior, because he wasn't preparing for eternity. Just preparing for right here, right now. Any other questions, comments? Yes, go ahead.
I don't know if it's really a question or if it's more of a comment, but something that's come to mind for me is, the example you gave earlier where somebody can kind of live their life the way that they wanted to, and then whenever, they're up in age, then they decide, to come to the Lord. And I kind of wonder about, deathbed confessions, and if it's really the way, in our mind we kind of think, okay, they accept Christ and then they go on. But if the Lord knows the motives of our heart, and we've lived our life to where we totally ignored him, and really we're only making that confession because we feel like we're out of time, are we really choosing him?
Right. And there's no way for us to know that.
Right.
We have an example, a perfect example of a deathbed confession, and that was the thief that was on the cross beside Jesus. And he Jesus, can I be with you in paradise? When you get there, remember me. And Jesus promised him, hey, today, he didn't say, no, I'm gonna need you to get off this cross, and I'm gonna need you to go evangelize, and I'm gonna need you to go do these works, and I'm gonna need you to go do this and that. He told him right then and there, today, you're going to be with me in paradise. Those thieves died just like Jesus did. They hung there and bled and suffered just like he did. And he promised him, hey, you're going to be with me. So because we don't know the time, and that I've been in the room with some people, where they made deathbed confessions. My whole point with going to see them was to evangelize, and tell them about God in hopes that they would accept Jesus Christ. And I heard their confession. They confessed Christ as their Lord and Savior, and we prayed, and then they ended up dying. Were they sincere? I don't know. I'm going to find out, though. Because when I get to the other side, they're either going to be there or they're not. But it's not for me to be worried about. My job is to try to get to them before they get to that point. And that's got to be our focus, is that we need to get to them. We need to evangelize to them, make sure that we're compelling them before they make it to that point. If they get to that point and they confess, great. But man, how much sweeter would life be if they get there earlier, where they can really enjoy the benefits of living a godly life down here. Go ahead. I know you had that microphone. Go ahead.
We're at a time.
You good. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I hear what you're saying, and I completely get it. But I think sometimes the time and the day that we live in now versus when Elijah walked earth and everything, there's far more distractions in our culture today. There's so many more demands and things that we have to do and get done. And sometimes I just feel like I would love to give more. I would love to serve more. But there's so many things that I have to do to make things float. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, and I don't want to use that as an excuse, but I do think that sometimes that there's a lot of pressure on things that we have to do as people, and the times that we live is just different than that time that was lived. But where do you draw that line? Because I certainly don't want to be being not lackadaisical or kind of like, you could be doing more. You could be praying more. You know what I mean? Giving more, and you really want to. I think sometimes as believers, I think a lot of times we really do want to, but so many times we have so many things and moving parts that have to be taken care of, and how do we juggle all of that? Because I want to do more before, and not because I know tomorrow may be the last day,
right?
But I want to do more. But how do you do all that?
Some of us have things on our plate that God didn't put on it.
Right.
We've taken on some things that God didn't put on our plate. We look at being busy. We're busy. We got this, I got this, I got that, I got this thing, I got that thing. When the truth of the matter is that we picked up some things that we ain't had no business picking up. We add to our plate when it's already full. Sometimes it's because we feel an obligation. Sometimes because we don't know how to say no. Sometimes, case in point, we allow our kids to pick up extra stuff knowing that we don't have time. But we say, oh, well, we don't want to rob them of the experience and this and that. But sometimes they got to choose. And sometimes we have to make the decision that they're not going to be as active or as busy, because that's gonna overextend me. And we have to, we really have to, even here at the church, Pastor Respis and the elders committee and all of us put it into play a long time ago, that you don't need to be serving in 5, 6, 7 ministries, even though you love serving. You don't need to be in 5, 6, 7. Get you 2 good ones and work those ministries. Because once you get into 3, 4, 5, you can no longer serve with excellence. You can't give what you need to give, being involved in that many things. So sometimes we just have things on our plate that we really don't need to have. And we have to go in and we have to prioritize, and we have to organize our lives so that we can do that. And in order to, to really give and really do the things that God wants us to do, if we ask him. He said that he would be a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our paths. He will show us which way to go. He will let us know that, hey, this is what you need to be doing, and you need to cut this mess out. And that, even with, us as pastors and preachers and ministers, we've had to go in and trim the fat. We had to go in and cut some stuff out because we were doing too much. How many preachers that died in the pulpit and preached themselves to death because they didn't take the time to take care of themselves? They never took time off, didn't take no vacations, none of that stuff. Go ahead, Pastor. Where your microphone? Yeah. We need to hear this.
Yeah, I just wanted to just say really quickly, I do think we have this bias towards quantity versus quality.
Yeah.
And so the way that we describe it is more. We want to do more. And it's not, I'm just piggybacking on what you said, right? But it's really not more as much as it is the quality of the time that we spend, because sometimes you just do not have the time, right? Or the stuff on your plate that you really can't take off.
Right.
And so, if we're judging the quality of our experience by a quantitative measurement, then we're kind of missing it, because it would be better to spend 10 good minutes with God, right, than trying to get an hour that you can never find. Right. Do you know what I'm saying? And I mean, and that's in addition to the priority stuff, right? Maybe it's saying, man, what's the best that I can give to God, and give that, prioritize giving my best to God. And it may not be 30 minutes, right? You strive for as much as you can, right? But sometimes we forego the quality in pursuit of the quantity, and the quality is probably what matters most.
Yeah. 10 strong minutes awake rather than an hour when you're falling asleep. It makes a difference. All right, Mike, I would love to hear you get his last comment, but we 15 minutes over.
Comment.
Can you get it out in 30 seconds?
30 seconds. The 10 foolish women, the 10 foolish virgins. I mean, 5 were wise and 5 were not. The ones who were wise was ready when the bridegroom came. The other 5 was doing whatever they wanted to do. And then they wanted to rob from the ones who was doing right. That's all I got.
Let me get some of your oil. Can I get some of your oil? But now you can't have none. All right. That's our time for tonight. We're over our time. Forgive me for that.